Good morning. Good morning. What is up, folks? JT here with another Chart Talk Live pre-market session brought to you by Xtrades. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me get my screen sharing going. There we go. All right. What's up, new trader? Good to see you here bright and early. Hope you're doing well. What in the world? E6? Oh, hell no. You gotta go, Jenny. That's a ban. Spam account. Sure, the previous 7 days. Bye, Jenny. All right. EVG. Oh, all right. We'll take a look at that for you, new trader. Happy to do so. What's up, Owen? Hope you're doing well. All right. Let's start to dig in here. Let's get rolling. What's up, trader boy? Hope you're doing well. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let me get, I forgot to keep there we go, YouTube chat open. All right, so let's go. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. What are we seeing here in the markets? What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. All right, so uh, taking a look at things here in the markets. And as we like to do, looking at things through the lens of ES. We were in a little bit of a triangle pattern, this being a much shorter term downtrend that we were in, but we were certainly under it for a little bit. We did break through that, but not a lot of continuation. Ran into one of these fib extensions right here at 64.78. And we've seen it pull back and start to test this ascending trend line, which is a higher time frame trend line. That being said, it certainly looks to me that, again, this market seems like every dip gets bought and every bit of overhead resistance eventually gives way. It's again, I was talking with somebody about this recently, or maybe even actually, I think I was talking to my wife about it, which she never asks about the market. So, um, the I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is just continued dip buying because the value of the dollar is retracting and declining, so much so that there's really keeping money in cash is not a good investment right now. So I think we see a lot of uh, smarter traders, typically big money traders, continuing to find opportunities to inject capital into the markets in the hopes to getting some ROI on that capital, um, which keeps us kind of driving to the upside because they're looking to offset the declining dollar. So that being said, and knowing that that's the kind of market that we're dealing with, it certainly looks to me like we are breaking below this uptrend and starting to even back test and reject it a little bit as resistance here. So keep an eye on things. If ES can't break back above 64.69, there's a bit of a confluence there as well. Double top on these last two 4-hour candles potentially holding up there. 64.69, if we're below that, we could certainly see some pullbacks continue to the downside. So let that kind of be a little bit of a factor in how you're trading individual names. Um, Not saying that individual names can't show relative strength and things can't move up while the market's moving down. So don't totally ignore the overall technical analysis on the individual tickers you're trading, but that's why we do these reviews of ES in the morning, is to try to get a little bit of an idea of how much of a buy the dip market are we still in. And to me, I'm starting to say it's looking a little less like a just buy every dip kind of market like it has been for the most part. So anyway, keep all that in mind as we head into things, especially FOMC minutes this week and Jerome Powell speaking at Jackson Hole. Those are going to be major catalysts for the markets, and we may see things stay relatively flat or move sideways until we start to get some of those data points out of the way, or those catalysts out of the way. Um, So anyway, again, kind of what we're looking at on things in the market in general. Um, for anybody who wants to know, the what is it? I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is the FOMC minutes released at 2 p.m. So Powell doesn't speak until Friday 10 a.m. So keep that on your calendar. Make sure you're aware of that because that is going to cause a lot of volatility in the markets, is my expectation. And there will be a lot of Fed speakers once the Jackson Hole Symposium really gets up and running. So we've got Bostic speaking at 3 p.m. Shortly after the FOMC minutes coming out tomorrow. We also have Waller speaking at 11 a.m. Those are the only ones on Wednesday, and then Bostic again on Thursday, and finally Jerome Powell on Friday at 10 a.m. So keep that day and time on your calendars. All right, so let's get into some trade plan recaps, and then we'll start working on some new ticker requests. What's up, Chris? Good morning, good morning. Good to see you here. What's up, Navy Plum? What's up, Run It Up, Making 007? Good morning to all y'all. Thanks for joining me. Feel free to get in the mix in the chat here. These live streams are not meant to be a, you know, lecture. They're meant to be a discussion and interaction. So if you guys have questions or tickers you want me to take a look at, please feel free to drop those questions or your ticker requests in the chat. All right, so let's get to some of our existing trade plans. Upwork we did last Tuesday. This one still looks like it's trying to break out to the upside. It's, everything's showing bullish. It's just been a lot of sideways action the last couple of days, but that's also been the case for the market. So no real surprise there, but again, we can see individual names, move on their own, separate from the market. They're not all 100% controlled by what SPY or QQQ are doing. In fact, QQQ and SPY are really more controlled by what they are doing, with exceptions of names that are included in those ETFs. So anyway, Upwork looks like it's trying to grind one out to the upside, but again, has been mostly sideways. All indicators here on the 15-minute looking bullish. Everything on the 1 hour, with the exception of the 200 being below the 333, but they're both curling up. Everything, or I should say, most of the kind of near-term time frames on Upwork still looking bullish, so let's keep an eye on this one. If we can break and hold over 14, we might finally see that push up through some of our price targets. So again, keep this one on watch, and as you've seen with some of the sideways price action that we've had in the markets, always make sure that you have plenty of time so those couple of days of chop aren't totally eroding your contract premiums, making getting profit out of that trade more difficult than it needs to be. Oklo, we did this one also on last Tuesday's live stream. Let's zoom out on this one a little bit. Oklo's been struggling. It's gotten some good catalysts, but obviously we've got things getting sold off on a lot of these little spikes that we've seen. Now we do have what looks like, I could be wrong, a fairly good, let's try this. Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good trend line that it looks to be breaking out of here. Pre-market this morning does still have some issues overhead with some sell pressure and other things like that, but looks like it's trying to perhaps reverse things. And again, myself and Sliced Breath and many others in the chat are very bullish on nuclear names for the foreseeable future. We're going to start to see that ramp up as a means of energy production to provide the energy needed for things like continued AI development and all that sort of stuff. So Oklo has some long-term potential as well, so keep an eye on it. AMD we also did, I think, last Tuesday, right? Or is this a holdover? Yeah, we did this last Tuesday. It already did give us a break the next day, although most of the move happened pre-market. You could have caught it with shares. But from an options standpoint, bit of a challenge there with that big move happening pre-market, but ran right up close to PT3, rejected it, has made lower highs really ever since then, as you can see there. looking kind of iffy still, I would say, especially below 174.50. So just keep your eyes on these levels. It's now back within the trade plan range, so we certainly could see things play out either to the downside or another run through the upside plan here on AMD. So keep this one on watch. But again, definitely looking like it wants more downside, at least as of right now. Toast, we did this last Thursday. This one is starting to break down. We saw it break down. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. Like way out here. 5-minute chart. Did HDI? Don't know if Home Depot had ER, but we can take a look at it for sure. So anyway, we did this one Thursday. We've seen some breakdowns, back test, sideways movement, another breakdown, looking like a little bit of a bear flag there, and looks like it's trying to break yesterday's low here pre-market. So Toast might continue to play out to the downside and start giving us some of these PTs. And then RCL, this one did have a really nice breakout yesterday. It happened very quick. If we're looking at this on the 5-minute, you see we got a run up, stall, break, confirmation without a back test, unfortunately, and then pretty much straight up to PT1 from there. So RCL playing out to the upside. Also looks like it's popping over this bit of an overhead trend line. Looks like it was an old trend line that we broke down below, back tested. Now we're back above it, but kind of already invalidated. So let's get that out of the mix. So anyway, RCL looking like it wants to continue higher so far, especially if it can hold. Let's take a look at this hourly chart. Yeah, it tapped the 333 there, so that's where we got that rejection from. Yeah, definitely looks like if we did get a pullback and back test the call entry, RCL has a lot of confluences there that it might want to bounce off of. So keep that on watch and in mind as we continue to move forward with this. the new FOMO emoji, I love it. All right, so let's get to some of these new ticker requests. That's really what we're here for. Recaps are done. Good morning to everybody who's joined. What's up, Ray Love? What's up, Kinson? A Wise Guys, Golden Boy. Good to see you all here. Thank you for joining. All right, so the first ticker request, new trader, bright and early, right out of the gates with EVGO. Let's take a look at it. I heard this ticker. I don't know if I've ever... Yeah, I don't think I've ever really done any analysis on it. And what do they do exactly? I'm always curious about that. Electric vehicle charging. Oh, okay. Decent volume, and definitely one that's very cost friendly as far as a share price perspective. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. All right, so let's take a look at this one. Could be interesting. Looks to be a little bit of a bull flag trying to play out there on the smaller time frames, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Lots of data to work with too. I like it. All right. Let's get some levels knocked out here. First and foremost, that's how we always start our analysis. And if you all have any questions that you want me to try to talk and chart at the same time as I'm working on this first ticker, please feel free to go ahead and drop those in the chat, or anything you just want to open up for discussion. Happy to, again, try to do both things at the same time. Make sure I'm looking at the bottom of the chat. It doesn't look like it's just at a standstill. Okay, let's see. I think that needs to be, yeah, a little bit higher. 228 recent lows. did have some quick resistance. Is that, yeah, I'm just gonna mark this off as all-time lows here. I gotta imagine that they are probably, and again, I'm not really sure what their role is in the EV charging station world, and if they are able to deploy any of the Tesla charging equipment, because I know, gosh, at least the last time I paid much attention to the EV markets, which admittedly was a while ago, kind of all really cooled off as of late as AI has taken over and crypto has taken over. But I know that at one point a lot of EV makers were starting to standardize on that Tesla, at least the charging plug. So I would assume that that being the case, Tesla does not have a monopoly on that charging interface. But I could be wrong for all I know. All right, let's. Anything else? Certainly seems like we should have some good weekly levels right around where we're testing here pre-market. Yeah, yeah, we are kind of right. Looks like we might be breaking over and back testing one here pre-market. That looks like an okay one. There. I'm probably getting a little bit into the weeds, but yep, that's good enough for now. Try to dial in my focus on just the levels we're going to need for this trade plan. Yeah, certainly looks like we're trying to break over and back test that 414 level pre-market. Maybe this winds up being a buy the dip entry as long as we're holding or buy the hold of that level, really, not really a dip. Hey, wise guys is typing. Miss Corweed calls. Oh, that's, hey, what's up, Bernaden? Brandon. I think you've got time on Core Weave. Did it move a bunch here pre-market or something? Sorry, I should sidetrack myself, but I am interested. So what I am, yeah, no, I don't think you've missed anything. It's holding key support right around 96.10. We're well outside of that earnings report. It's held the back tests of the breakout of this downtrend that was in for a while. So it's starting to look like you shake off that earnings report funk and make a move. So put that in the for what it's worth category. I don't think you've really missed anything. So great question. What am I looking for when I'm marking these levels? So I'm just looking for good, clean tests, right? When we're marking these, what are we marking? We're marking support and resistance levels. So I think that that's a key for what you should be looking for. As often as possible, you want to stay focused on trying to find the levels that get pretty good reactions to being tested, good rejections, good bounces. But there are levels that we can consolidate around or get quick breakovers and back tests of. It's there's definitely several things that I'm looking for, probably far too much to really get totally into. Um, as you know, during one of these live streams and while I'm trying to do this chart. Um, but it's one of the first things I teach when I'm doing mentoring sessions is kind of really how to become a expert at doing support and resistance levels. But again, the key is right there in the name, right? We're talking about support and resistance levels. So I want to find levels that are being tested and seeing, good reactions or consolidation um, on both sides of a price level before I say, okay, I'm going to mark that down. Like I don't just find a rejection and say, oh, there's a rejection there, mark that level. It's not. I think that winds up you're putting bad level. You could wind up. I mean, sometimes you might be catching the right level, but there's definitely potential for if you don't really have more of a system and some rules in place for what really qualifies as support and resistance. You can certainly wind up marking levels that may not be important or may give you um, what's the right word for it? Like false confidence in a breakout or something like that. So but understanding support and resistance and being able to draw these levels and do it well and efficiently, I think, is another important part. For me, at least, is really the foundation of um, how I build a trade plan. So great question. That's what I'm looking at. I would get deeper into it, but then we go down a rabbit hole in a conversation that I know I'm not going to have the time to finish. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, let's move this along. I feel like I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here on this one. I want to get to as many of these requests and questions as possible. Definitely looking like a bull flag here that's back testing off that weekly level. All right, what are we going to do here, JT? That's an interesting level. All right. Yeah, it gives us pretty close to that recent high there, too. All right. So what do we want to do with this EVGO plan? Where are the windows of opportunity on this one? Yeah, I'd like to see what's happening with NTS and some of these moving averages at this point. All right, so let's take a shot at this. Real quick, or not real quick, but it's definitely all right. So I think if we can get a break over 423, I know this is going to seem a bit crazy, but aim small, miss small, I think, on this one. 410 just seems way too tight. But again, we're talking about something that trades down in these lower single digit ranges. I mean, from a percentage standpoint, it's not an inconsequential move. That level does need a little bit of adjustment. And I would say especially if you're going to trade this with shares. Let's give this just a little bit more room. Could also certainly make a case for that strong resistance should act as support. So let's use 399 over 423. All right, so then where do we go from there? To get a really quick touch that weekly level. Interesting topping action happening around 469. Let's see if we can get some confirmation on that level. Yeah, I can see that actually. I think that makes for a good second price target. Shoot. Could go as high as 478, but then I think we're looking at, obviously 478 would need to break, but I think assuming we can continue up, and obviously you've moved your stops up, so at that point we should be in good shape to, worst case, get stopped out for profit by the time we get to PT2. Let's give this one a chance to break through that weekly resistance, make a push up there to 511 possibly. So then what's the downside trade plan looking like? Yeah, I'll try to take a look at those, Brandon. I don't know if we'll get a full trade plan on them, but I will certainly try to, at the very least, take a look, give you some quick insights. I think I should have pretty decent levels. I know on HIMS. Hood is one I haven't looked at in a while. All right, so downside, downside, downside. I don't think it really does open up a good window of opportunity. God, it's like forever away the current prices. All right, let's do this. Nah, it's not a great. Okay, yeah, let's do this. 371. I want to break of that. I'll give us a stop at 387. First target. Yeah, right about here at 351. Below that. Yeah, 339. And below that, I think we test. This is a good level here. Let's see, around 322. Yeah. It's going to be right in that neck of the woods. All right. So this is what the trade plans dictate that we do. 511 stop loss at, oops, 399. Call it $4 if you want. Psychological level as well. Downside, pretty tight windows of opportunity, unless it breaks down for new all-time lows or something like that. But this would be a good one to trade some shares on, that's for sure. Yeah, I can't really do 0. Let's do like 0.2. Huh? Oh, wait, no. Sorry, 0.02. That's what I meant. Maybe 0.05. Yeah, good enough. All right. Let's go. This is our EVGO live stream plan. For YouTube, not the chart image. And let's get this over in the Elite chat as well. Let's grab that message link. Get our alert set. Okay. Yeah, cool, cool. Let's get this, whoops. Yeah, next week. And let's lock in our here. Wrong thing. There we go. All right, so what are we looking for here on EVGO? We're looking for a break over 423. That should give targets at 449, 469, and 511 with a stop loss average down at 399. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 371. That should give targets at 351, 339, and 322 with a stop loss average down at 387. Those are your EVGO trade plans. Let's EVGO. All right. What did we have next on the list? DKNG. Let's take a look at DraftKings for Chris. Oh gosh, football season's coming up too. Yeah, this is going to be a good one to keep an eye. Great timing on wanting to take a look at this as always. Real quick pullback as we pulled up the chart right to this confluence there at 44.53. Let's see if that holds. Yeah, I just said let's EV go. I went there, I said it. All the puns intended. That's the kind of reaction we expect to see when we test a confluence like that. 44.53, quick buyer stepping in. We'll see if they continue to step in. That's the bigger question. All right, so DraftKings. Excuse me. That has an interesting top right there. Multiple candles tested. Quick support test there, but didn't really do much other than cause a brief stall in that downward momentum. Let's see here. Yeah, I think we do have a level here. So how does that shape up for what we're looking at? This range. Interesting little support. Kind of some messy resistance. Could be just a little bit lower actually, right about here. And while I'm here, yeah, there's a level right about here as well. Okay, so where's the entry on this? Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit torn on this one because I do think it's got some catalysts coming. Again, football season is upon us. There is an interesting level. Right about here. Let's take a shot at this. I could be getting a little bit eager with this entry, but I think there are good windows of opportunity. We know we've got this confluence that we're testing as our pre-market low on this pretty significant pullback for DraftKings that we're seeing here pre-market. Yeah, and I like those 3 price targets, so let's run that plan. Let's see how that plays out. I think there is a potential entry here for the downside plan. Give us room down to 42, 43. Yeah, oops, I didn't need to do that. There is, I think, a good case to put the stop loss right here, just a little bit below our stop loss for the upside plan. That makes this a good PT1. So now, where are our targets? There's definitely a level. I think this daily level might be off just a little bit. I think it really sits more like right about there. Gives us a good second target, third target. Let's see. Right around. Yeah, right here. 40.70. All right, cool. Let's knock it out. The Kings of Draft trade plan. Oops, 2-6. All right. Back out. Let's get this cleaned up. There we go. Cool. All right. All that looks good. Copy link. Ooh, we're losing that confluence here pre-market. I wonder why is the market dumping? Pulled back off that. I mean, a little bit of what we're expecting to see, but the market's not pulling back that hard. DraftKings is dropping like a stone. But that could provide a good buy the dip opportunity, especially, whoa, okay, there you go. Especially if it continues to hold 44.53. Okay, so here is our, whoops, let me get this link. Here is our DraftKings live stream plan. Right, let's get this over into the elite chat. Chris and I, generally speaking, have a very strong track record of finding banger golly, let me get my words out there, banger trade plans whenever we team up. So let's see if this one doesn't print for us. And let's get our alert set. Slot. Two. Save. Yes. Alert. Yeah, okay, cool. All that's good. So we just adjust the expiration. All right, so let's talk through this real quick. DraftKings live stream plan. What are we looking for here? We're looking for a break over 45.45. That should give us targets at 46.64, 48.04, and 49.33 with a stop loss average down at 44.53. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 43.49. That should give us targets at 42.43. 41.61 and 40.70 with a stop loss average down at 44.26. Those are your DraftKings live stream plans. The other thing I would say, and I'm just going to throw this out there, be very careful with this though. It's got a lot of volatility on it here pre-market. If we're anywhere near and holding 44.53 as support going into the trading day, potential early entry opportunity there, but be very careful with it. Like I said, if you went for that entry level, I would certainly have my stop loss at 43.49. All right, so that is your DraftKings live stream plan. What do we got next? Let's see. HD. And we were asking if HD just had earnings. We'll find out about that as well. Let's go ahead and take this chart. Yes, they did just have earnings. Not terrible earnings. Look at that though, Chris et al. 333 SMA NTS key buy level, the bottom of the bullish flag there. That is exactly what Home Depot bounced off of during that earnings report dip that we just saw. Can you please explain call SL means as well as call PT1 PT in the put? So if it goes above, I'm guessing you mean above, not about the call entry point, you have a good chance of it hitting PT1, and if it hits that, you have a good chance. No, that's pretty much, you're following it correctly there. Run it up. We're waiting for a confirmed break over that entry level, whether it be to the upside or the downside. As you hit those price targets, you should do one, two, or both of these things, which is take profit, move up your stops, or again, do both. Take some profit if you have multiple contracts, move your stops up, like to the call entry level, for example, or break even on the contracts. We don't want to let green trades go red. So take some profit, move up your stops, and then, watch for things to break out and give you confirmation that we're going to push to the next price target. Look for that to hit. If that hits, so we hit PT1 or PT2, sorry, in this hypothetical, I'd be moving my stops up somewhere close to PT1 and taking more profit, so on and so forth. So, and then the stop loss average down, if we get a test of that, and it looks like the price is responding with a reversal back in favor of your trade plan. So, those really only come into play if we don't hit any price targets and the trade moves against our position. Then you've got a stop loss average down. Yeah, that's fine. Did it test the call entry? Oh, that's weird. Maybe because it's a part of this hourly candle. That's still a little bit weird. Not sure why Trading View would have fired that off, but this hourly candle did technically cross that level. So, 44. Oh wait, what? 44.60. That just came up. Well, I'll take a look at that. No, I do have them popping up. No, that's the current price. Sorry, that's okay then. Yeah, no. I do have these running during extended hours now, because there have been some really good share buying opportunities. Um, Even though you can't trade with options, CoreWeave was an example of that, where we got a beautiful breakover back test pre-market, and then by the time the market opened, it was I think at PT1 plus. So yeah, I'm starting to run these on the extended hours charts. So anybody who's interested in taking shares on these, if they can't trade the options on it, can do so. The other thing is when we kind of have them set for regular trading hours only, as soon as the market opens, the chat winds up getting flooded with a whole bunch of alerts, many of which have already long passed. So I think it'll be cleaner and better that way. So anyway, um, let's take. So we just talked through and the other getting to that final question there. Stop loss average down. So that only really comes into play if we don't hit any price targets. If we're hitting price targets, we should be taking profits and have our stops at the very least at break even. So at that point, the stop loss average down for the plan is kind of no longer a factor, at least for the current trade. However, if we do get kind of a weak breakout and things, whether that be to the upside or downside, so breakout or breakdown, let's say we get a weak move, doesn't make it all the way to PT1 after we get into the trade, and it reverses against our directional trade to the point where we're testing that stop loss average down. That is your one and only chance, in my personal opinion, to average down on that trade and try to course correct it. The benefit of having that kind of be the same level is, um, you know, if you are adding in that point and for some reason the trade continues to go against you and invalidates the plan entirely, in other words, breaches, confirms a break of the stop loss level after you add to it, those contracts that you've added or those shares that you've added um, don't really compound the losses on the trade that much, really, if at all. So that's why it's a stop loss slash average down level. That at least my personal approach to averaging down on trades. I will only do it once. I'll do it right there at that point. And if it continues against me and invalidates, that's it. I'm out. And those contracts or shares that I add on the average down aren't really throwing any more cash on the money fire at that point. So all right, I don't know if I have time for another full plan. HD did just report earnings, so I'd be very careful with this one for the next couple of days at least. Um, Great proof of in the pudding, though, there of the NTS and the moving averages that we like to use. Let me try to take a quick look at some of these names, though, that people asked about, but I know I'm, again, not going to be able to get full trade plans done, but let's take a look at some of these. Somebody said check out Snap, Golden Boy. Let's check out Snap. Snap's trying to recover. It just had a big pullback, didn't it? I think on their earnings report, yeah, huge pullback. Snap's still under a lot of bearish pressure, bearish SMAs here on the hourly. Looks like it's trying to build some upside momentum. If you really love Snap, which I don't even really, I mean, with TikTok and everything else out there, I don't know how popular Snap is with the kids these days, as some might say. So I'd be careful with this one. But if you like it as a long-term hold, you could try to see if it's going to continue over this sell pressure right around 750. I think over 750, a little bit better confirmation that things are starting to maybe try to reverse. I would certainly, not want to be holding too much lower than 706 though. So fairly limited downside if you wanted to scoop some shares and then keep your stop loss right around that 706 52-week low. Not the worst idea in the world. Let's take a look at APLD real quick. Big move there yesterday. Looks to be making a perfect bullish pennant here. That look, just so y'all could identify this stuff. Let's make that. I'm going to move this off these candles a little bit. This is your classic bullish pennant right here. Big igniter, and these are not exact trend lines. So while it might have looked like it was breaking down, it probably looks a little bit more like that. So we're looking for this now. Typically this means a breakout to the upside, but these chart patterns can invalidate to the downside as well. So just because you see a bullish pennant or a bull flag or a head and shoulders or anything like that doesn't mean, you know, rush right in whatever direction you think it's going to go. You got to wait for confirmation on these patterns to validate before you do anything with them. So that's a quick look at APLD. And I felt like I saw another one. Hood. Brandon was asking for Hood. Hood is, yeah, super strong. Four-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour's been a little bit kind of flip-floppy up in this range, but SMAs have been holding it up. Recent low off that 333 SMA. So yeah, this is, you know, looking like it wants to continue, but obviously you now be looking, I'd say, waiting for a breakout and for things to get back into price discovery. You know, quick, very quick, you know, so probably not going to be my best, most accurate fib extensions I've ever drawn. If it does break out to all-time highs, it's looking like it should try for about 121 and some change. So that's a quick take on Hood. All right, folks, we are getting very close to market open. I do need to go get the SPY plan together so we can get that posted and ready for the trading day. So for this morning, please do come back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. when we will have another session of Chart Talk Live here, brought to you by Xtrades. So until then, as we always say here on Chart Talk Live, play your trades, trade your plans, go out there and get some green, keep your wins big, keep those losses small. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. Take care. I will see you guys in the chats. Hope everybody has a successful day. See you Thursday.